Hello, everyone. Welcome. We are so incredibly excited to have you here for tonight's Faith and OCD Roundtable. I actually think this is our third or fourth year doing this particular theme on finding light in the darkness. And it is one of my favorite topics of the year because there are so many beautiful aspects across our religious and spiritual traditions where we really get to focus on finding light in dark times. And some of those holy times come at this time of year, some come at other times of year, but regardless, I think this is a really beautiful period to talk about these things. And I'll say on my end, I've heard from so many folks this week that while it's such a beautiful time for them, that there are struggles in that. And we hope that you find light in the stream tonight. So as folks pop in, feel free to tell us hello, tell us where you're watching from. And we usually start with kind of a fun question, which I never prepare beforehand and then strongly regret as I sit here and try to keep talking slowly while I think of a question. Anybody have anything they want to know tonight? Anybody else here? Random question.
Katie.
I need to better prepare for this.
Nice.
How about this? What is your favorite random question? What do you want to be asked about today? How about that?
Okay. And for folks, anybody who jumps into the chat, if you want to give us your favorite random question, we would love to hear your favorite.
Your favorite icebreaker question. I find them all not great, but
what is my favorite? Okay, so I mean, my favorite question, we'll go. I'm not going to answer it, but I'll say like my favorite question is always if somebody asks me about running, because it gives me a chance to like go off in like a big direction and talk for long periods of time about running outside. So my favorite question would be, "Hey, Katie, how far have you run today?" I'd be like, "Oh, let me tell you about it." So I'll leave it at that.
But that's it for you. I didn't run today.
Okay, well, you give us your favorite random question, Noah.
How many minutes did I play hockey last night? That's what you should.
How many minutes did you play hockey last night?
I played hockey last night.
How long?
I'm Canadian. An hour, but an hour is really intense. Like, it's a lot of start and stop and sprint. And it's super amazing. I don't know if you know what. Do you guys know what hockey is, or?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
We do know what hockey is. And welcome, hi Spence and hi Wiley. We are just asking each other some random questions here for just a second. Any other random questions pop up for you, Emily or Donna?
Oh, how many cups of coffee have you had today?
Is that directed at anyone? Oh, I figured
directed mainly at you. Actually, it's directed at me too. I'll just fess up. I've had 3 so far.
Oh, I'm not going to share then. My number is bigger.
What?
7.5.
Come on.
I'm very impressed by.
How are you stable?
Because I realized I still had the half of the 1/8 up here, so I actually was like, it's going to be after like 7, so I actually went down and I dumped it out because I was like, I want to sleep tonight. So. My students, when I used to teach, used to always know when I'd like cross the 7 threshold because I'd be teaching and I would like be chucking markers because I would be like so enthusiastic. So yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. I just like wish I had more words after learning it was 7.
Yeah. Wiley thinks this is an important question too.
I mean, it really is. It's how you start your day and it can be how you end it too in a really like positive way. I mean. Well, I don't know if does anyone else here drink coffee, or am I?
I'm like super bad with it. Like if I drink a cup of coffee, then like I start spazzing out. Like it's really, really not good. But I know people that like they have like the little like recommended amounts and like the upper threshold on like the Mountain Dews and like the Red Bulls. And I know people that like go like 2x that at school. I don't know how people do it, but that's not me.
Yeah.
Well, now that I officially feel like I've served a really bad example at the start of this live stream, we're going to go.
That was a big one. I feel like I'm always like to my clients, like after like 2 o'clock, it's not even so good to drink coffee for sleep stuff. But guess what? This is a different type of conversation. This is about finding light.
It is.
Somehow I find light through lots of, and I still sleep. So I don't know. just weird like that. It's how I run and do. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to transition from this conversation. So apart from talking about massive amounts of coffee, this live stream is educational. It is not intended to replace therapy. For treatment-related questions, please work with your provider or contact a local clinician. You can, of course, use IOCDF's online resource directory at iocdf.org/find-help to locate a trained clinician near you. I will say I've heard from a lot of folks this holiday season that they're looking for resources and actually weren't familiar with this. If you haven't checked it out, please do. This is one of my favorite resources. Also want to note that the IOCDF is not a crisis hotline. If you're in crisis or if you're ever feeling suicidal or unsafe, please call the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline by dialing 988. You can also access online at www.988lifeline.org. Go to your local emergency room or call 911. And finally, we want to create a safe space. We want to be kind. We want to be respectful to everybody, because at the end of the day, we are here to support one another. So we really see these live streams as opportunities for us to chat, but for us also to connect with all of you who are watching live or who are watching later on. And we do want to note that this is being broadcast on several social media platforms and is being recorded. So please keep that in mind as you connect with one another and as we support one another on this advocacy journey. And Spence, yes, as we continue to talk about coffee, which I will continue to bring us back to faith and OCD. And welcome, Matt Bannister. So good to see you. I want to go around and have our awesome panelists introduce themselves a little bit and why this work is important to you, and maybe even why this topic is important. Why is it important to talk about finding light in the darkness? And first, I'll go to Dr. Emily Bailey, who does a lot of amazing faith and OCD work. We have the pleasure of a lot of work together here in Canada. She is an incredible psychologist. She is also a psychology professor at Oglethorpe and serves on our IOCDF Faith and OCD Action Council, among many other things. But Emily would love to hear a little bit more about you and why it's important to find light in the darkness.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like you just introduced me. I don't even have to say much now. It's great. So I think the holidays are simultaneously so exciting and so comforting and challenging too. There's so much amidst the holidays that make it sometimes feel dark, make it feel a little bit icky. And I think having a support group, having a place to process what happens during the holidays, which is often chaos at times, is such an important thing, especially amidst family members who may not understand, family members who may not know, and being able to navigate those things. So that's why I think it's important, because it's relevant to everyone. It's across all denominations, across all faith practices, is we all have to face the holidays, and that can be incredibly challenging at times.
Absolutely. Thank you, Emily. Thank you. And welcome, Zan, who just joined us in the chat too. Welcome. I would love to go over to Rabbi Noah. And Noah is a registered psychotherapist, an academic coach, a rabbi, and a co-founder of a Canadian student mental health company called Resolve. He's doing amazing work and has been doing also great work with the IOCDF for years with the Faith and OCD Action Council. And it's just a pleasure to get to continue to do this work together. So Rabbi Noah, I'd love to hear from you. Why is it important to find light in the darkness?
So I think two things come to mind. Number one is that I would say that this isn't even remotely like the holiday season in the Jewish community. That's more in September, October, depending on the season with the lunar months. Sure. So there's the theme of the high holidays for the Jewish people is very intense. It's like a mini New Year's, but I would say even more intense from Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur, focusing on a lot on self-development, self-improvement, tshuva, getting closer to people. And so there's a simultaneous celebration, but also a bit of awe and reverence to the meaning of the holiday and the content of the meaning of the holiday. So I imagine that for people across in other religious traditions, the season where they're the most intense about faith, possibly, and the most connected to people that they're closest to, that combination can be really difficult. A lot of people with OCD, and not just with scrupulosity. So scrupulosity is when OCD is specifically themed around people's faith. But people with OCD, just because of the suffering, grapple with big questions about themselves, their relationships to other people, their relationship with God. What does this mean? Why am I experiencing this? So when you take heaviness, existential heaviness that often goes with OCD to me is one of the most spiritual, if you will, spiritual mental health conditions in terms of like how it affects the core of people's belief systems. You combine that with the heaviness of the external holidays meaning, plus being around people that might be triggering and difficult for them and learning to manage that. All of that combines to a hope that they can approach the season, grab as much faith as they can, grab as much love and connection as they can, resiliency and courage, and at the same time go through the season and realize that they don't have to run away from the themes. I think that some people run away from the depth of what the tradition or what the holidays might mean to them because it also triggers them. So it's just an opportunity at this moment in time to help people with all types of OCD that come up within the context of religion and close relationships. And that's why it's so important to me to address that with my clients, both Jewish and non-Jewish, at this time and at the times of year when holidays are more primed.
Thank you. Well, everyone, that concludes our live stream. Thank you, Noah, for.
And we're done. We're off.
And Michael, thank you for. It sounds like Michael really resonates with what you shared. So thank you so much for that, Noah. And we're excited to dive in further. And then we're going to go over to Danish, who is an undergrad student at Yale University studying comparative literature. He is an OCD advocate, is passionate about a whole bunch of social justice issues, and just has been an amazing part really of this community and about speaking through his own lens about his experience with OCD. I will say, Danish, and just knowing you the past, year or two, you've been super, super inspiring to me in the ways that you advocate for OCD and advocate within the Muslim community. And it's especially an honor to have you here tonight because you just flew home from Yale like just now and still have apparently 2 final essays to work on tonight. And yet you are choosing to be here with us on this IOCDF live stream. So tell us a little bit more about you and why this topic is important to you, so much so that you are joining us in the midst of lots of other things.
I mean, it's nice to be able to do something other than like sit behind my laptop and like type. So this is like quite fun. It's nice to be able to talk to people and like, it'd be like productive and stuff. I guess what Dr. Emily and Rabbi Noah said is really good. And I guess where I'm coming from is like from a place where like having experienced like holiday seasons specifically, not like in a religious sense and a non-religious sense, like in a non-religious sense where other people are having fun and I'm not able to engage in like that sense of joy and feeling really like lonely because of that. And then also in a religious sense where other people are getting something out of their faith, or I feel like they're getting something out of their faith that I'm not, and feeling really anxious about that kind of distance. So I've personally felt how like painful that can be, especially in the holiday season. So that's why I want to be here and kind of discuss like paths forward for people in that situation, and how you can like make the holiday sustainable for you and, tailored towards your needs.
Thank you, Danish. And you are getting some resonance in the chat also with folks who resonate with your experience. So thank you so much for that. Well, I always love when we do these faith and OCD roundtables to just do at least a quick intro to OCD and scrupulosity, because I think all of this is so intertwined, whether it's over the holidays or any point during the year. So I'd love, Noah, you started to introduce this to us just a second ago, but I'd love, for you just to tell folks what, if they're watching for the first time or maybe for the 50th time, just to really hear what's OCD and what's scrupulosity. And happy holidays, Stacia.
Yeah, and sorry we can't join the chat. I don't know how to. I'm acknowledging. Well, maybe I can join the chat.
You should be able to join it. It's just on YouTube though, not on Facebook. So sorry, Facebook friends.
Got it. I have all these screen time protections to guard my time, so I have like limits on all the apps. But I think I should have more time left on YouTube. That's another discussion, by the way. An undiscussed issue is compulsions using the internet. So we should talk about that and how we can't just tell our clients to stop browsing things when it's almost impossible without screen time protections.
I've had a whole
OCD
conversation today about Chat GPT compulsions with some, so we can, yeah.
Big. Yeah. So basically the internet is a rumination machine externalized for a lot of people, just like your brain outside of yourself on like steroids. So OCD, I try to reduce everything to the simplest equation, which is obsessions and compulsions. Intrusions come in the form of thoughts or images, intrusive sensations in the body, any type of kind of whatever triggers and creates a major discomfort, something very unwanted, something that you're not can't control at all, in the realm of thought, mind, body, etc. That's the intrusion. And the compulsion, I just say either a ritual, like a physical compulsion of some kind, or a mental compulsion, or avoidance. So rituals and avoidance, you're getting anxious, you're distressed by triggers in the natural environment, which create obsessions or intrusions in you. And then you need to respond to that to protect yourself, to protect your integrity, to protect people, whatever your brain tells you it needs to do. You have all these rituals and avoidance patterns in order to protect the situation, to control the situation, and restore your equilibrium of anxiety as well. And scrupulosity is just, to me, is just a subtype. It's just a theme within the many themes of OCD. And it affects people's faith. It can either be in the realm of like pure spirituality, meaning pure belief system. I did this thing or I didn't do this thing, and I'm worried about this consequence or not that consequence, or what does God think of me, or how is this going? You know, all sorts of deep questions about meaning, purpose. What does God want for me? What's my place in the world in some higher realm, which can be very hard because it's not always or mostly not provable. And so we have to learn to take a leap of faith to not believe what our OCD is telling us, which is a whole other process. And then there's more typical compulsions that are within religious practices. So taking a religious law and saying, but it says you're supposed to be careful about this thing. Oh, so that means that you're supposed to do these things in order to be careful that are way outside the realm of what is normally part of your tradition. So it's very important to understand communal norms. And I think it's so important with scrupulosity, so much so, to be able to work on it with both a therapist and with some sort of ally or faith leader in your community, not for what people think. It's not just for reassurance. I mean, you can get good assurance to know what is really needed and what's not, but also because most of the time, I think 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100, maybe 999 times out of 1,000, the therapist and the faith leader agree that what they're doing is not helpful, and the client does not realize that there's an allyship going on there, and it's very reassuring to hear. So that's OCD, obsessions, compulsions, and the disorder part is when it's disrupting your life. And scrupulosity is the theme of OCD represented in issues of either faith practice, or the impact of other themes on OCD on your faith and on your spiritual connection.
Absolutely. Thank you for those beautiful descriptions. And to respond to folks in the chat too, yes, before the internet, people I think did read books and maybe even hung out with each other. And Shelby, we are so glad to be here with you today. And I love it. So what Noah was talking about, this collaboration, I may be a little bit biased because I'm clergy, but I think clergy, and Noah maybe also, but I think clergy and therapists and that relationship is so incredibly important. And I have the pleasure of, Emily and I both live in the same area, and we do a lot of work with clients together, which is really neat from the faith lens and from the therapeutic lens. And I would love to hear from Emily a little bit more about, well, what does treatment look like, particularly if we're talking about faith, OCD, scrupulosity. And Noah got into the chat. Yes.
Oh, I'm so proud of you.
Yeah. Yay.
So I think the gold standard treatment is something that we call exposure and response prevention, right? And this involves an individual facing their fears. This could be resisting the urge to pray excessively. It could be resisting the urge to seek reassurance from particular people. And they're facing that fear while not engaging in other compulsions or safety behaviors. So treatment really emphasizes, like, let's approach the things that are meaningful to you, even if you do feel a little bit scared. for a more meaningful outcome, a more meaningful life, to get closer to living a life that you want and with a faith practice that you want to engage in. Oftentimes, we're really helping people understand that this is not a faith issue. Scrupulosity is not a faith issue. It is an OCD issue.
Wait, hold on, Emily. I didn't hear that. Can you say that again for the people in the back?
I'm sorry. Yeah. It's not a faith issue. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Just wanted to clarify. Okay.
Yes. It is not a faith issue at all. And so we really want to help people understand their faith in a more balanced and healthy way, in a way where they get connection and comfort and not fear and anxiety. And, it looks different for every single person, right? It very much depends on what the person's core fear is and what that person has been experiencing and avoiding. But always working with a faith leader or somebody who's knowledgeable within their faith practice, so we can help guide that a lot better and really make sure that they're practicing in a way that aligns with tenets of faith, not OCD skewed version of faith. Yeah, that's pretty much how I would summarize it.
That is an awesome summary.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Emily. Yes. And I think I would love to go over to Danish, who had this experience, and even some of the interdisciplinary pieces that we're talking about with faith leaders and with clinicians. So Danish, would love to hear a little bit about your experience with faith and OCD, and then we'll start to kind of transition into some of the light and darkness stuff.
Yeah. So I guess for some context, I have OCD, and I had it for quite a while, and my maybe since middle school, early high school, and it end of high school, it got pretty bad. So I sought help from a therapist that wasn't really a specialist in OCD, just a general therapist, and that kind of made it worse. And I kind of gave up, and I was just, there's no hope for me. I can't do anything. And that kind of was kind of my state. And the OCD kind of morphed and was dormant for a while. And then my first year of college, it really just burst and made it really difficult for me to engage in normal things that you do in college, school, day-to-day stuff. And then I actually went to the link that Reverend Katie shared earlier, the Find Help one. Someone directed me to it, and we sat together and we found an OCD therapist in the Houston area where I'm from, and that was really revolutionary for me. So yeah, that was extremely helpful. And so that's why go to the link if you feel like you need to go. That's what I would recommend. I guess in terms of the interdisciplinary piece, for me, my therapy, especially for the first few months, did not include that. I just interacted with my therapist, and I think that's definitely an option. That's what worked for me. But I think also incorporating a religious leader can be very helpful. That's what I've seen personally, interacting with the IOCDF, different workshops and stuff, seeing that there's a lot of Muslim imams and religious leaders from all religious communities that are with it, are willing to understand and interact with research, willing to ask questions when they don't know the answer to something. That's been really just been giving me hope for other people, because I think that could have been helpful earlier on for me. So yeah, that's what I would say. That's where I'm coming from in this discussion.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And again, for sharing so openly. And I think it's, again, so brave, the way that you leaned into treatment, and also for folks to be able to hear that wasn't all that long ago, right? And you're in such a different space, and the fact that there really is hope. So what a beautiful, awesome thing. And welcome to folks who just jumped into the chat too. So glad that folks are relating. Hi, CR and Gail and Alex, she wrote, and just glad to have y'all here. Would love to kind of start to transition into our special theme tonight a little bit, and want to go over to you, Emily, first, and just really ask, what struggles do you see clients facing over the holidays? And that may be right now, that might be at other parts of the year, but I have a hunch that you are seeing some folks right now, especially in the Christian tradition, who might be struggling with Advent, or who might be, I don't know. So I'm wondering what that might look like.
There's just an array, a spectrum of different issues that are presenting right now, right? And some of it just comes from basic relationships, right? Familial tension, things like that. A lot of what I'm seeing right now for my patients is this fear of being judged or misunderstood by family members for their mental health diagnosis, whether that's OCD or something else. Really being worried about like judgment from other people and people viewing them as weak. As a result of it, that has come up a lot. Boundaries, that's come up a lot. But also just standard, like, how do I practice my faith, especially during the holiday season, in a way that's congruent with my faith practice and not my OCD. So really diving in and untangling, disentangling this, like, what is OCD and what is my faith, and how can I practice it in a way that feels genuine to me and what I want from my faith. So those are just some of that, some of the issues that are coming up, but also simultaneously beautiful moments of gratitude, right? Beautiful moments of recognizing the small joys in life, moments of peace, time with family, and processing some of the glimmers as well, right? So lots of stress, but equally thinking about just the gratitude that people feel right now too. I don't know what other people are seeing.
Well, and I'll say you've, with some faith and OCD work that you do with Stick with the Ick, you've made even like bingos around like Thanksgiving and around different holidays too, which is really cool to, I think, actually get to gamify that and to let folks know we can actually do exposures during these times of year. Like, that's possible.
Yes, I am kind of a nerd. It's okay. I like it. I enjoy it. I identify as a nerd. I very much love gamifying exposures because sometimes they're hard to do, right? And I'm not saying gamifying them makes them much easier, but yes, Thanksgiving bingo. I just created Christmas bingo scrupulosity edition because I think it just makes it easier sometimes to approach the hard, scary things. So yeah. It's my favorite thing. It's also a great way to procrastinate other things I need to do by making bingo cards.
I love that. And I hope y'all hear that means like treatment. Yes, it's challenging and it can be fun as we step toward the things that are meaningful to us in our faith practices and during these beautiful and also sometimes challenging times of year. And I'll echo what Emily was saying. I realized sometimes I forget to introduce myself on these because I've been doing these for a really long time. So I forgot at the beginning, hi, I'm Katie. If I haven't met you, I am an ordained minister and interfaith chaplain, do a lot with the IOCDF, and I work at the intersection of faith and OCD full-time with scrupulosity. And I have the honor of serving in a faith leader role with a lot of the stuff that we're talking about. But I have OCD. That's how I got into this work. And very much echo a lot of what Emily was just sharing in my own journey, where holidays for so many years were such a challenge because, yes, there were these family components. There was this heightened pressure for me as a minister around Advent of having these weeks of peace, hope, love, and joy, where I felt like I needed to perfectly feel peace, hope, love, and joy. Like I needed to perfectly prepare for Christmas as it was coming. And like everyone else was so excited. And like I needed to feel that same level of joy. And what did it mean if I didn't? What did it mean if I had intrusive thoughts at that time? Did that mean I was a bad minister? Did that mean I was a bad person? And very different place from that now. But I think all of these things are so real that come up for folks. So would love Noah for you to reflect this a little bit. I mean, in general with your clients, but also in the Jewish community. And I know you highlighted around Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur a little bit earlier in the year that there might be some challenges for folks too.
Before that, can you just plug your app?
Oh, I try to not
Noah.
We have there is a community if you're interested in whatever. Sorry, I forgot that we're not on, Anyway, there's something called
I run a virtual community called Stick with the Ick that many of these folks are a part of too, where we offer support for folks navigating faith and OCD and community, and are doing a lot of religious affinity groups as well. And Emily is a leader for some stuff. Noah is leading our Jewish affinity group, and lots of awesome things. So there we go.
We're professional Ixters over here.
Yeah, professional Ixters, yes.
I think what I'll add to this is that I don't two things. I'm gonna have to say this, Emily and Katie. You're gonna be mad at me, but that's fine.
I'm gonna be mad at you too.
What? Yeah.
It's only Kate. Oh, okay. It's okay though. Say it anyway.
Okay, and you can disagree too. But although OCD is not a faith issue, meaning the person is struggling with OCD, we have to be real that it's affecting their faith.
Oh, for sure.
It's not right. And that's not what you meant. But some people are like, and the reason why I want to bring this up is because I think that part of the conversations, like we all do as clinicians, a lot of exposures, and we're really helping people face their fears, but we're also helping people believe deeper. And we know that ERP is the ultimate faith courage therapy because it helps you trust, even though your brain's telling you this is the opposite of what you should be doing, and you take that leap of faith in your own soul, your relationship to God, your faith leaders who are telling you you don't need to do these things. It's incredible courage that does so much for your faith. So it's just amazing the possibilities of light when you lean into treatment. It's not secular. I mean, it is secular. I work with lots of people that aren't religious, even though I think they're the most courageous people. This is not a secular. This is faith. This is taking a leap into the unknown and doing things that are not comfortable, that go against the instincts which have been hijacked by the OCD. And so what I work a lot on is to create what we call is a yichud, like a unification between a person's spiritual growth and their OCD treatment. It's the same thing. It's not, oh, I'm taking a break from my faith right now so that I can become healthier and then I'm going to come back to my faith. It's like, this is an extension of the faith work that you need to do. And if you do it, it's going to help strengthen your relationship to yourself, to your loved ones, to God, ultimately. And so it's paying forward the way you wouldn't believe. And so I'll bring in, believe it or not, and I say this probably in all the live streams, it feels like I'm repeating myself, but like we probably spoke 6 months ago about this, so like, and different people are watching, but like, did you know that our traditions have wisdom about facing your fears and facing intrusive thoughts and facing uncertainty before OCD was called OCD? It's a real thing. And you go to your scriptures, go to your law, like Jewish law disciples are supposed to be very knowledgeable. Just like if they were doing kosher laws, they have to know a lot about modern food manufacturing. Like people in our tradition that are giving over Jewish law have to be very aware of the human condition, of modern science, of modern medicine, and things like this. We have a lot of wisdom from our past that guide our present. So we should be looking into scriptures. We should be looking into things that bring us meaning on a spiritual level. Lo irara ki atay madi. I don't fear because God is with me. That's the ultimate courage while you're doing an exposure. Now, you don't need to do that as a safety behavior always. You shouldn't like trigger yourself and then say, I'm going to say this thing. But as a general mechanism, access your faith. There's so much wisdom there that's going to help you with your OCD and complement these incredible modern therapies. And I think that's the real light when you stop splintering faith and OCD treatment.
Mm-hmm. No, I love that. First of all, I'd never be mad at you. And second of all, like I so agree with everything you just said. And gosh, and you know, that's so much of a lot of my doctoral work is on reimagining ERP as a spiritual practice. And I deeply believe that because individuals, as they go through treatment, have this beautiful opportunity to connect with God in ways that OCD has prevented. And gosh, all of these different things. But you're right, the wisdom from all of these beautiful traditions, the leaps of faith that treatment requires, it's so integrated. And I think, you know, all of this can exist. What Emily was saying of like, yes, it doesn't mean that you're having a spiritual failure because of OCD. And also treatment can be such a spiritual thing. And I actually think I quoted Noah in my doctoral work saying, ERP, what a spiritual thing it is, from a podcast. So it's like, it's drilled in. It's so important. So thank you for that. And I mean, Donish. Oh yeah, go ahead, Emily.
Oh, I don't think I was gonna say anything, but
you breathed. Sorry,
I breathe. I really sometimes I have to do that, but I agree completely. I love how you said all of that, Noah, and I think it resonates with me, and I know it probably resonates with so many other people. I would not be mad at you for saying any of that. I think it's so accurate, and it's so important to remind people that, like, a part of this is diving into our faith in ways we haven't before. But yeah, sorry, Katie. Try to breathe quieter now.
Yeah, stop with that breathing thing. It's awful. And it looks like so many folks resonate. And thank you, Michael, for your beautiful insight in the chat. And I know, Alex, that you're really resonating here too. And Matt, thank you for the kind words on Stick with the Ick. You're an awesome part of that community too. So we're thankful for you. But would love to move to Donish and to hear from you. I don't know, what challenges have you encountered during the holidays? Where have you found hope? Where have you found light? And again, that doesn't just have to be right now during winter holidays. I know these can be observances that happen throughout the year.
Yeah, I think I'll answer this, and then I also want to talk about like the previous conversation like a little bit.
10,000%, go for it.
Yeah. So I guess for me, one thing that stuck out a lot, like aside from like kind of the typical, like in Ramadan, like the month we fast, like people's like OCD around fasting like increases, and like Ramadan we pray more as well typically. So then like OCD around prayers like are probably going to increase, like that type of thing. I think one thing that like stuck out to me that was really troubling was like kind of the performance kind of element to the holidays. And like this could be winter break when it's like nothing like Islamically like going on, but just like the family's hanging out, and like I'm in the car, and like I'm like freaking out internally, and I don't know like what to do, that type of thing. So I think really like just going through treatment and having like kind of a framework of how to approach those situations is just like infinitely like beneficial. But even on top of that, like even when I was in treatment, I think one thing that was helpful was just kind of like being open about like my OCD with people I trusted, like my mom, like my sister, like to kind of give them like a reference. Like sometimes like I might not be feeling well, like I might just need some space. Like I don't want like reassurance or anything, but like I might just not like have the energy I usually have, because I usually am like bubbly and stuff. I think that really helps, and like people are really like understanding. I think that gives hope. Like even now, like OCD is like an always battle. So like even now, like if like it ever flares up, like I've had conversations with my friends like this semester, like, oh, like this is something like a part of my life, and like sometimes like I just want someone to like sit with and like watch TV with, and like I'm probably like not going to be saying like anything, but like I just want to sit around with someone. And that really helps, and people are really nice. This community is like amazing. So that's what I would add to the holiday element. Also, like in terms of like OCD, like ERP being spiritual, like I think I definitely felt that in that I kind of internalized the statements about like how like people say like Islam or like religion is like everyone has their own journey, and like this is something people say, but like I really internalized those things after ERP, like after doing ERP, where like me taking, and I would say this, like taking time off from like explicitly religious things, or even thinking about religion, or like thinking about being spiritual, was a part of like the long-term like spiritual like journey, right? So like even when like you don't necessarily have to be thinking about like spirituality for you to be able to like trust like in the end it'll work out, and then like the long term like it will be like a spiritual journey, right? Because yeah, so that's what I would like to add to that.
Yeah, I'm sure you saw me like 10,000%. And I think it's it can be really scary going through this process for folks, because it's like, well, am I focusing enough on my faith? If I'm taking a step back, is this still something spiritual? And it looks like what you've experienced is whether or not, you know, you're thinking about it in your mind as this being a spiritual thing, you're actually moving closer to faith, and it's a part of the journey.
Yeah, and like I would also like I'm not like the therapist here, but like, you know, like for me at least, like what it was, like a lot of it was to kind of like say maybe to like maybe this like might mean like distance from my faith, and like I've had the good fortune to like see that it wasn't, but like I did have to, like for me personally, that's what I had to like do. So that is something like I'd like to share. Like this is like what that can look like, and that's what the spiritual journey could look like, you know. Yeah,
I'm so glad you said that, and using those non-engagement responses and embracing uncertainty around that. It's like, it's how we get there, right? I love, so Emily, I'd love for you to share a little bit more about when Danish is saying like, maybe, or maybe I'm moving away from my faith, or maybe I'm not. What is he talking about? What is this?
Uncertainty. Yeah, it's this idea of honestly, I always almost describe it like taking a leap of faith. Like we don't necessarily know the outcome. Part of it is trusting ourselves and trusting the process more than we trust our OCD. And I think that is a different type of hurdle too to overcome, and recognizing that like to get through treatment, sometimes we also have to learn to actively trust ourselves and in our higher power. Right. And that's the biggest part of treatment, leaning into that uncertainty and recognizing, oh, it feels horrible to just not know everything and not know all the answers. And can we sit with that and recognize that maybe we don't know the answer right now? Maybe we will in the future, maybe not. But like, how can we move forward with faith in a meaningful way from that? And I know you hear me say maybe not all the time, or you know, OCD asks questions that we actually sometimes can't answer. And it loves doing it. It is super good at asking questions that there's no answer to. And I think it's getting comfortable with not knowing, right? Just being like, I don't know. And I think one of the more, I'm thinking back to the IOCDF conference when we were presenting about scrupulosity as well. And I had the entire room chant, let's get used to saying, I don't know. Because I think that's great as therapists, but it's equally great in treatment to be like, you know what? I don't know. That's uncomfortable. I'm going to embrace not knowing in some way.
I think it's really powerful to talk about around faith, and even to hear from faith leaders. I always say in my circles, like I'm not a public theologian. I'm a publicly uncertain theologian. Mm-hmm. I will talk all the time about how I'm not certain and how I can still really hold fast to things that are meaningful to me. And I'm going to drop a link in the chat with some of what Emily's talking about and what Danish mentioned with maybe not. We're talking about non-engagement responses. And there's a really great IOCDF article by Dr. Lisa Levine on this that I'll drop in that folks can check out too. If it lets, apparently I'm not linked in. I will make sure that it gets posted. But while I'm doing no, I'd love to hear from you. Where does this whole faith, certainty, uncertainty conversation, how do you feel about that? Where do faith and certainty and uncertainty fit together?
It's so context dependent on each person's experience. I do lean a lot towards, I guess, the cognitive dimension, like cognitive therapy parts before getting into exposures. I mean, I try to help people as fast as possible face their fears. Like, I think people are so resilient, they can do so much more than they think. But I work a lot on correcting misunderstandings. It takes sometimes a bunch of sessions for me just to understand their worldview, because each person's OCD is motivated by different fears. And so the uncertainty piece, for some people, the uncertainty isn't existential. Like it's an uncertainty around like something physical, like tangible. Like, I don't know if I touched that thing. And if I touched that thing, did that piece of food touch this? Like can be more like tangible too. And I think that I start with, it's embedded in Jewish law that there's chazaka, which means like there's a presumption that there are certain things that are just a reality. If 20 times you've walked through the door and like you didn't get some sort of like deadly disease on your hand, then we're just going to assume for the purposes of this that this is not a problem. That the thing that you're afraid of is not actually an issue. And that doesn't mean that then every time they're constantly needing to get certainty. I try to get clarity. To me, the word is clarity. Clarity doesn't mean 100% clear. It means I'm clear that either I know for sure, or I feel like I know as much as it's humanly possible, or I know as much as I should know for my own well-being, and I don't need to take it any further. And now let me lean into uncertainty, not by, sometimes they'll say the maybes things, sometimes not, but let me lean into it by just simply touching that doorknob, for example, and then moving forward and moving on. So I'm always guided, as I've said so many times in Rabbi Sachs of blessed memory's quote, that faith is not certainty, but the courage to live with the uncertainty. But sometimes I find people are like over lean into uncertainty in like this certain way, which is I'm not trying to make people now more uncertain about if they're uncertain or certain.
It's seen really black and white, where sometimes we miss.
It's very black and white in OCD that we should be uncertain, but like I'm more, I guess, more of an act purpose is like, what does each person need for their growth? So sometimes I'll lean a lot into certainty, but then I'll say, okay, prove it. Prove that you feel certain that it's okay to walk through that door. Don't tell me, prove it by walking through. So to me, it's so much about what people do with their body and how they move through it. That is the greatest indication of their willingness to face the uncertainty. But certainly, sometimes I embrace the uncertainty with the client.
I love you talking about them moving with your body. And I think that's, gosh, it's so important because we can say, hey, I don't know for sure. And we're having faith by stepping forward anyway, by stepping into the unknown. And it's what Michael is talking about here, that you can both not know and have faith to find greater meaning. And you can step toward that. Like that is a conscious choice that we get to take each and every day to see really, gosh, the unknown as a really big adventure, which is terrifying. And also beautiful and whole. But I think, no, what you're saying, it's so right. Because we, as folks with OCD, I'll say me, I often see things so black and white or all or nothing. So I think it's easy to go in the other direction of, I literally don't have certainty about any, which yes, but also we can have faith and confidence in something and step toward that. And gosh, that's really beautiful. Emily, I felt like you wanted to say something, but you might have just been breathing again. So I'm hesitant.
I mean, I'll talk, but again, no thought comes to my mind right now. Copy and paste what everyone else has been saying, but yeah, no, my breathing's a problem today, apparently. So
again, stopping with that breathing. Okay, well, I want to stay on Noah them for just a second, and then I'm going to go to Danish and Emily with this too. But Noah, I wanted to hear with this light in the darkness theme, because you brought this up a couple times, but our spiritual traditions, gosh, have so many different aspects of light in the darkness. And I wonder if there are particular things that you can think about within religious observances. And of course, that could be Hanukkah this time of year, but I also know that there are many other things throughout the year that are really significant. So I wonder, are there some specific examples of finding light in the darkness in the Jewish tradition?
I'll say two things. I'll try to say it as relatable as possible. One is that I think Hanukkah is really just a metaphor for our, not just our survival, but our continual thriving as a Jewish people throughout diaspora, throughout thousands of years of being persecuted. And like, it's just, we have an intergenerational faith in our ability to be resilient. And it's because we believe that Hashem, God, is with every human being, in particular for this time of year for us, we believe that we're guided through history. So we have no doubt of our continuity, and we try to be both. You know, we're a very particular people. We have a very particular way of life and practice. It often leaves us sometimes feeling on the outside of the world, but at the same time, we try to integrate. We try to be like the mandate that Yeshayahu or Isaiah said about our world, our people, is to be an or legoyim, a light unto the nations. And that word or is very intentional, because so for us, part of the light is knowing that we will survive and get through everything as a people. And I think that thankfully, thank God, so many different faith groups and traditions have resonated with that story. Go back to Moses and the Exodus and freedom. It's a very universal message, even though it's through the particular, people of Israel, the Jewish people. But in addition to that, the or piece is so important. Rabbi Sachs talks about this so much, and it resonates so much with me, that the thing about light is that it is unlike with material goods. If you give some of it, it's gone from you to somebody else. It might make you feel good, but once you give something like in more physical, once you give a material object or you need power, it's yours and it's not somebody else's. But with giving and with spirituality and sharing, spiritual ideas, it's lighting a candle. It's your light being ignited, and it just creates more light in the world. So there's a type of currency in this world that grows when you give it. The more you give, the more you have. It's not the more you give, the more you lose, and it's a zero, like it's one or the other. And I think that message is so important. We have such an opportunity in our lives. People are so focused today, unfortunately or fortunately, in big issues. I want to make a difference in the world. I want to fix this massive thing. And please God, our young people should be inspired to make a difference, whether it's environmental or economic or any kind of issue that you're passionate about. Go for it. Go into the world and make a difference. But my rabbi said to me something when I got married, and it's really stuck with me. He said, you're about to marry somebody, and the two of you, God willing, you're going to create generations upon generations. And I've seen pictures of great-great-grandparents with 200, 300, 500 descendants. And 10 generations later, we don't know the impact of the small. You don't know the impact of a family. I mean, I'm just talking about me because I have little kids, but it doesn't need to be creating a family. The light that you can bring in your immediate environment with the people around you, just because today we're so global, just because today we can reach people with, Katie's an amazing influencer. She's got many followers. She's warming people's hearts. But Katie is also a close friend and has family members who need her more than anything. And so at this time of year, when we're coming into that anxiety, maybe we can focus a little bit. Of course, we want to have our needs met from others, but maybe we can focus a little bit more on what light can I share with the people around me that might make a huge difference to their lives right now. We have unique indispensability to so many people. And at the holiday season, we encounter those people. And hopefully, God willing, we can figure out ways to impact people in very small ways, but possibly very, infinite. When we really analyze and break down the concentric impact of that kind of stuff.
Wow. No, that's so impactful. And I'm going to have to do some unpacking in my own life on that, and just, gosh, the immediacy of the people around us and offering and finding light in them. And I think I'll say on a personal note, yeah, sometimes I'll say what you just shared resonates with me a lot, because I think sometimes, and Donna, she might relate to this also, I feel the pressure of want to fix all of the things, want to do all of the things. And there's something really special at these times of year. And again, on a really personal level, I think about my mom, who's been navigating blood cancer for a long time, and just the significance of not feeling like I have to be on social media all the time or fixing everything on Stick with the Ick and all of these places, but can show up with glimmers with my family and with those people in front of me, and the significance of that, the really beautiful significance of that. So I just thank you for that on a personal note too. No. And I would love to go to Danish, and Danish, either from your faith tradition, from the Muslim tradition, or just for you, what wisdom might you have in terms of finding light in the darkness? Is there a particular time of year in the Muslim faith, or just in general, as you think about faith, finding light in the darkness, what might you want to offer to those here tonight?
Yeah, it's such a hard question, and that was such a beautiful answer. I'm probably gonna have to go on YouTube and replay this.
I know Michael just said, yeah, Michael, I am all about getting Rabbi Noah to give a special keynote. He's stellar and amazing and inspiring. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. I'm gonna rewind and really digest everything you said, and I really appreciate your explanation about how light is transferred to other people and doesn't subtract when it's transferred. I never thought about that aspect, because light is something so central in in Islam, but why is that like the tool, like the vehicle used to convey this beautiful concept? Like that makes so much sense. What you explained, I really appreciate that. I guess I mean, I don't think I'd be able to say anything like very profound. I guess what I would say is like there's like one verse, like a very famous verse of the Quran, like called Ayat Nur, like the verse of light. I'll just like read the translation because it's pretty cool. It says, Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth. His light is like a niche in which there is a lamp. The lamp is in a crystal. The crystal is like a shining star, lit from the oil of a blessed olive tree, located neither to the east nor the west, whose oil would almost glow even without being touched by fire, light upon light. Allah guides whoever He wills to His light, and Allah sets forth parables for humanity, for Allah has perfect knowledge of all things. And I guess like what I would see in this verse, like, and it kind of reminds me of like this author I really like, Marilyn Robinson, like not Muslim. She's like really goated, like author, Christian. Like you can find light in like the smallest things, like God is the light of the heavens and the earth, illuminates everything, and we can find it in like struggle, in pain. I especially like the concept of finding light in other people's faces. This is like something people talk about, how there's like nur on someone's face, like I'll be going around and like you see your friend and you're like, your face has a lot of nur on it, a lot of light on it. Yeah, like those connections that aren't specific like actions that they do, but like a state of being, like the way they relate to the world. I think appreciating that and finding that in like everything is really important. And also like the dichotomy, there's like no real dichotomy between like the big things and these small things. Like I find like the people that lead the protests and like, you know, whoever like does that type of thing, like whoever's like most effective, I really find those are the people that are like the best in like private conversations and are the most supportive as well. So those are some like scattered thoughts on this topic.
So not remotely scattered, also equally brilliant and impactful. So thank you for that, Danish. I so appreciate that, and appreciate everybody who's being so honest in the chat too. And I see responses to Alex, but also want you to hear that out loud, verbally. You are light in this world, in this chat, in this community, just showing up and being here. And I think often OCD can distort things so much. And gosh, as someone who has navigated a lot of guilt and shame with OCD, I felt for such a long time like it was pulling me away from the things I cared about and the people that I cared about. And yes, it can do that. And at the same time, I want you to know you are still the light for so many people just by being you, by being the amazing person that you were created to be. And you have shown your light even in being here and in sharing tonight. So I hope you see that and can see yourself through the same loving lens through which the divine sees you. I would love to, I know we're in our last like 2 minutes here. So sorry, Amelia, behind the scenes. I promise I'll wrap up. Like we'll wrap up here, but I'm going to go around really quick and just do final words from our panelists on light in the darkness, or just any words of hope as folks head into the rest of the year. So go ahead, Emily. No pressure. Sorry.
Okay. I was like, I'm trying to take in everything that people just said in my mind. It's just like, wow. And I can't even think straight.
I know. I want to have like a 3-hour conversation on this. This is really,
I know. I'm
really
like, can we all just hang out after? Let's just like plan this already. So gosh, I feel like there's nothing more to add. I feel like everyone here just gave so many messages of hope. I think the only thing else to say about light and darkness, finding light in the darkness, is that we can all begin to shine our light in whatever that looks like for somebody and dispel the darkness that's around us, the darkness that we may feel as a result of symptoms we experience or stressors that we have. It doesn't mean we're ignoring the dark, right? Just because we're trying to find the lights and the glimmers in our life doesn't mean we're ignoring the dark. It means that we're not defined by the dark that's around us. And I think that's a really important thing to take home is your darkness, the things that you're experiencing, the things that are really hard for you right now, that doesn't define who you are as a person. You are a light, right? In someone else's life, whether that's somebody who you're very close to, a family member, a friend, you are someone's light. And I need you guys to remember that no matter what you're facing in terms of mental health or just stressors generally, that darkness, that tough time, that doesn't define who you are as a person. So that's what I think I would say, is that don't let the darkness and the hard times define who you are.
Thank you, Emily. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to go to Noah. Any closing words for our group tonight? You're muted. We're at the edge of our seat here.
Yeah, two very quick things. I really hope if anybody's thinking about getting help, please reach out. And even if you don't know where to go, I hate to do this, but reach out to Katie. Or reach out to me.
200 new emails.
Reach out to Denise. Reach out to Emily. Just saying, hey, looking for help. Tell us where you live, and we'll speak to our colleagues. We'll help you. Just ask for help.
Yeah.
And no, he's totally right. I 10,000%. Like, shoot me an email, and I'll put you in touch with folks. Like, really, if you don't know where to go, we're here for you. We really are.
Sure.
And two, you can start today. The name of the 4-letter name of Hashem, of God in the Torah, is Yod and Hey and Vav and Hey. The 4-letter name just is a combination of tenses: past, present, future, ultimate being. There's a sense of timelessness in our experience. The way that we can tap into that personally is to believe that we can begin again in a way that's, of course, we're connected to our past, we're moving forward, but we at any given moment can enter into a timeless realm and start completely anew. I mean, even if that feeling of newness lasts for 3 seconds, that's something. Take any moments throughout the day to start afresh. Get help. Get moving. This is an opportunity. It's an opportunity to capture light and hold it and bring it and keep it and live it. Starting today. Starting now. So that's all.
Thank you. Beautiful. Thank you, Noah. And then finally, Danish. Any final words for the group tonight?
No. I mean, if you need help, you can reach out to me as well. And also, there's so many resources on the IOCDF website. Like, it's actually such a game changer. Especially the find help tool. Like, it's really, really helpful. So please go there. That's what I'd recommend.
Thank you. Thank you, Danish. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. And thank you so much, Emilio, for putting that link up. Yeah, the iocdf.org/find help. And you can absolutely reach out to any of us. And I'm really easy to find. So if you have questions for any of the other panelists, shoot me an email, and happy to connect you with folks too. And we want to make sure that you get support. And yes, I see questions about it. It is recorded. As soon as we're done, it's going to be uploaded on YouTube and Facebook, so that you can go back and check this out, and you can share this with folks. And just hope that all of you felt seen and supported in this conversation tonight. So as we close out, just want to say thank you so much for being here. I am, going to keep talking randomly while I pull up my closing stuff, which I know is right here. I'm just going to keep
prepared.
So prepared. I closed it out because I was getting so into what everybody was saying. It just kind of happened. But this live stream is one of many. You can see the whole schedule of future streams at iocdf.org/peace of mind. I know there is another great stream back here tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern, same place. You can also view all recordings of past live streams on the YouTube channel, on the Facebook channel, all of the things. And you can remember to like and subscribe to get notified when live streams are scheduled. As always, if you need resources, as we've said so many times tonight, we encourage you to visit iocdf.org and to please reach out to us. We are here for you. We are in community, and each and every one of you who is here live tonight or who is watching later on, I hope you know that you are such a light to so many in your life, and that you are offering light in the darkness. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of this. And we are so honored to be on the journey together. We'll see you next time.